in order to make percents useful, we have to be able to solve problems with them. And I'm going to show you some quick ways of doing it, but I want to make sure that you kind of have an idea of what you're doing. So this was 30% of 40. And if you watch the first two videos, you should know, or at least have some idea of what I'm going to do. And when I say 30% of 40, I'm going to say that this entire bar is worth 40. So then I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's now 10 bars, which means each one of these little bars is going to be worth 10%. And that should make sense because if you have 10 bars and they are each equal, then the whole thing each one should be worth 10%. So I also know that I have 10 bars and the whole thing is worth 40, so each little bar should be worth 4. So if I put in 4 for each of these, that should make sense because 4 times 10 is 40. Now, I wanted...
36.
No, it's not 36. But thank you for helping. Now, I wanted 30%. Now, like I said, each little bar was worth 10, so 10%, 20%, 30%. This is 30%, which is 12. So 30% of 40, if you want...
50.
It's not 50, it's 12. Say that now. 12.
12.
Good. So 30% of 40 is 12. Now, if I want to do 35% of 40, I would... You want to use pink? I would have to recognize that if 10% is 4, 5%, what's half of 4? Do you know?
Half of 4 is 1.
Very close. Would be 2. So 35% of 40 would be 30% of 40
50.
plus 5% of 40. Now, like I said, we know that 30% of 40 was 12. Half of 10%, which would be 5%, would just be 2. So 12 plus 2 would be 14. Now, easiest way to do this is to say, all right, I know that 30% is really 30 over 10, or I'm sorry, 30 over 100, which is really 0.3 as a decimal. Of means to multiply, so 0.3 times 40. And if you do that, you will get 12. If you do 0.35, which would be 35%, 35% is 35 hundredths, which is y there, times 40. Oops, I'm sorry, I just erased that. 35 hundredths times 40 should be 14. And just not that I doubt myself, but I have the ability to check it out. Let's see. 0.35 times 40.
Times 50.
Not times 50, times 40.
No, times 61.
Is 14.
No. Do 1.
Alright.
1
Yeah.
plus 2.
I'm not doing 1 plus 2, but thank you. Alright, now, 15 is 60% of what? Now, here I need 60%. So let's see. I know if I divide this up into 5, I get 20%, 20%, that's 40%, 20% is 60%, 20%, that's 80%, and 20% is 100. So 15 is 60%. So I want to know if these three equals 60%, 20, 40, 60. Altogether, they have to be 15. Now, here's the deal. I need to take 15 and make this into 15. So I could do 5, 10, and 15. Alright, so that part is 15. What is the total value of that bar? Well, if I put in 5 and 5, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So 60% of 25 should be 15. And by the way, that should make sense that your answer is smaller because 60% is less than the whole thing. So let's see, if we go back to what I said before, I'm going to take my 60%, now I'm going to convert it into 60 over 100, which is the same as 0.6, and then I'm going to multiply it by 25, And let's see, if I do 25 times 6.6, 30, 0 and 3, 12, 15, carry the decimal, and I get 15. So once again, I hope you understand what's actually happening here. If I'm looking for 60% of what is some number, you can do your picture. All right, last one. Now, what percent of 4 is 4 out of 12? Well, 4 out of 12. The whole thing is 12. And then I have 4 of them. So let's see. 4, 8, 12. It means I have to divide it into 3. 4, 8, 12. And that's 1 out of the 3. Well, 1/3 is the fraction. And if you convert 1/3 into a decimal, it's 0.3 repeating. And so if you want to convert that into a percentage, you would need to multiply by 100, right? Because let's take a look. Let's say I had 1/4, and that'd be 0.25, which would be 25 out of 100. So you multiply by 100, and you put it over 100, which means that this would be 33.3 repeating out of 100, which is 33.3 repeating percent. Now that's kind of a tough one to understand. So there is another way of doing this. Maybe not another way, but there is a better way of explaining this. Easiest thing to do is if I had 5/8, I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that's going to be more than half. But what you can do is convert this into a fraction, or take the fraction, and then you can do this. Let's see, that's going to be 6, 48. Bring down my 0. That's going to be 2, 16. Bring down my 4. And then 5. It's 0.625 as a decimal, but if you multiply by 100, you get 62.5%. So when you're looking for the percentage, you do the part divided by the whole, and then multiply by 100. I hope that helps. I really like the visuals for the first two. And the last one was a little bit tricky to see, but you can see here it is 1/3, and if you know that 1/3 is 33.3%, or 0.3 repeating, you should be able to get the percentage pretty quick. Part over whole times 100. And you have to be careful because if it says what percent is 6 out of 2, well, 6 out of 2 equals 3, and then when you multiply that by 100, you'll get 300%, and that's a completely legitimate answer. All right, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the comments from my assistant, who was obviously terribly helpful.